Hello, welcome to another episode of the Skinny Files. Today I'm going to take a step back. I'm not going to talk about movies, but I'm going to talk about how I evaluate movies and what I'm looking for in terms of technical accuracy and kind of whether it matters or not. This is something I'm going to look for every time I watch a movie. Sometimes people may ask you, aren't you just nitpicking? And before I answer that question, let me just define what I mean by technical accuracy. Technical accuracy in war movies means that there's a proper depiction of the times, the people, the technology, and the procedures. And again, am I nitpicking? And kind of, it depends. Well, first off, I want to say that all war movies are products of its time. And I don't mean this is when the producers and the writers wrote it or made the movie. I'm talking about war movies are a product of the war and the times it was fought in. And therefore, things like technology of the era should match, right? And unless this is sci-fi movies like Cowboy and Aliens, no one should have laser weapons in a cowboy movie, right? And that might be hyperbole, but the point stands. What should be appropriate to that era? And I know a lot of our technical consultants who did an excellent job to make sure the representations of the weapons, times, and procedures match. But sometimes they make one or two mistakes here and there, and that's when I will catch them on that. And second of all, you have to consider kind of what level the CGI and models were used at the time the movie was made. When I talked about Midway a few weeks ago, I talked about how the later 2019 movie had the benefit of CGIs, and so therefore they could digitally resurrect planes and ships that are no longer exist. And that means in terms of that type of technical accuracy score, it's a lot higher. Don't forget, I also mentioned that the 1976 Midway movie, they also had the benefit of being able to slice in actual war footage as opposed to CGI footage. And so that's also another way that score is pretty high that way. And third, and most important for me, paying attention to technical accuracy actually makes the movie more believable, not less. And so does it matter? In the short run, yes, right? Because when I see something that is technically inaccurate in a movie, I'm going to have a moment and I'm going to lose focus of what the story is as I'm going through my mind as to what it should be. And now I lost 5 minutes of focus of the movie. Now, if I've seen the movies that, movie like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10s, I'm like, yeah, I can, I won't do it the next time. But the first time I see it, it was like, that could be the moment where the movies becomes less and less believable. Okay. And in the long run, no. Technical accuracy does not really matter. Why? Well, certain things can be forgiven based on what was available when the movie was made, not what the war it depicts. If you look at Patton, I didn't mention it, but it's very clear from the production notes that by the time the movie was made, there were no functional models, large scale numbers of Sherman and German tanks. Today, we had tank enthusiasts who spent a lot of money and time to do painstaking research to source the parts and kind of rebuild something if they can't do it, so that the tank will run and they will have tank competitions and running competitions and displays in England. But at the end of the day, even now, the number of functional, not museum pieces, but functional restored tanks and certain other planes from World War II era could be counted on one hand. And after that you can kind of forgive the writers and the producers for, since they didn't have access to a large scale number of these planes or tanks. Yeah, you can just say, okay, that's fine. I know they have to use stand-ins, and so like Patton gets a pass on that one. But for other ones where there's more CGI available, or there's more people number of people uh, who are into restoration. Okay, that number could go a little higher too. But if they don't do it, but yet they're still available, then I'd be kind of hesitant to give that movie a higher pass. There's certain things in Midway I mentioned before they kind of have to give them a pass because again, they just didn't have any ships in 1976 that represents the 2000, sorry, the 1940s ones because those don't exist anymore. Again, they did their best with the camera angles and but I think what I'm also saying is that at the end of the day, uh, the movies is a story of the human experience of when people are put in the toughest time possible in the time of wars. And that's what the movie's about, not whether they got the tanks and the planes correct. Thanks for watching Skinny Files. Do not forget to like and subscribe.